everybody, and welcome to another episode of Sunday Sit Down, the show where anything goes and nothing is left behind. As always, I am Steve, your friendly neighborhood lawn gnome, and I want to welcome each and every one of you for returning to hear another great conversation revolving around an excellent topic, but as always, which is much more important, a great YouTuber to discuss it with. I also hope that all of you who are living in the USA are enjoying your wonderful and restful Labor Day weekend, as I am. I really am finally getting a good deal of rest after a very, very busy summer. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. What we are here to talk about today is the new topic. And the topic is definitely an interesting one because it is all about something that's very personal that has actually happened in both of our lives, myself and my panelist. And my panelist is now someone who I met via YouTube, who has become actually one of my very good friends in real life. She is a very good member of the BookTube community. She is a very insightful individual. She talks about a lot of books that most booktubers do not. And I feel that that is one of the most important things. We need a lot of diversity in terms of the books that are being presented in the BookTube community. But more importantly, she is actually one of my very good friends. She is Marissa from her channel, Blatantly Bookish. Marissa, good morning, and thank you so much for joining me on my show today.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on the show. I'm really excited to be here.
I'm really glad about that. And I also want to thank you and your boyfriend for joining me and Jennifer to celebrate my birthday this weekend. It was so great seeing you guys and just having a really, really good time.
Yes. Happy belated birthday again.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So anyway, we have a couple of people in the chat, and it's great to see everybody coming. Hi, Charles. Great to see you again. Everything is going well. Thank you very much for coming last night to the live show. That was great, too. But let's get started with the questions because the topic is going to be about meeting YouTubers in real life and actually creating real bonds of friendship. It is something that is happening a lot more than I ever would have imagined today in the community. It is something that I never would have dreamed that a platform like YouTube would become. So as always, with my guests, I always like to begin at the beginning. So the first question that I want to ask you today, Marissa, is when you actually decided to become a YouTuber, was actually meeting people in real life and building friendships something that was a goal for you?
So meeting people in real life was not, but building friendships or connections with people in general was. But I just imagined that they would stay virtual and on the computer. I actually really started the channel for a few different reasons, but one of the reasons was because I saw that for me, in order to have the kind of communication that I wanted to with other booktubers, I felt like I needed to start creating my own content, which isn't necessarily true for everyone, but it definitely was for me personally.
Yeah, and I definitely would agree with you in terms of building a channel. I mean, one of the few things that I always say is, even though we have a vast amount of people in things like the BookTube community, the Beauty Guru community, and so many other communities that we have here, I always say that it doesn't matter how many voices there are. It's just that no two people have the exact same voice or the exact same opinion on something that everybody else knows. Like, you could put 20 people in a room, and every single one of them is going to have a unique perspective on the Harry Potter story. That's something that I know for a solid fact. So every voice is unique and every voice is relevant. Now, I will definitely agree with you in terms of meeting people. I mean, when I first started my YouTube channel, I just wanted to voice my opinion on things that I enjoy. But one of the things that I noticed as the years were moving on, I mean, look, I've been doing this for going on 9 years now, 8 years now, almost 9. And it's very surprising when I started seeing people doing these collaborative videos, people that were actually going to things like VidCon and BookCon and Comic-Con, and all of these people who had virtual friendships were actually meeting in real life, and people were actually building friendships. And as someone who has not always been someone who has had easy times making friends, it was actually great because the YouTube community, especially if you were in the right community,
Mhm.
you had so much in common with so many other people. So there were so many ways you could create a friendship that much more easily rather than just flying in blind. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I find as I get older, and certainly since being out of school, making friends is harder, and keeping in touch with people, even if they're relatively close by, is becoming more difficult just because of everyone's busy schedules and coordinating things. It's much easier, I think, to keep in touch with people
I
virtually.
agree. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, it's so funny how we have all of these social media outlets that give us such easy access to keeping in touch, and yet we still manage to find ways to keep ourselves so distanced from one another, you know?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, that was definitely a great way to start here. So I guess we'll just move on to the second question. So the second question that I have for you is, when you first actually started interacting with others, because if there's one thing that always lifts the spirits of a new YouTuber, is when they get their first comments, or when they actually comment on other people's videos for the first time and they actually get responses, not necessarily from the person that they comment on, but from other people in the community. It's a very fun and uplifting feeling, especially if a great conversation derives from it. But how did you feel about connecting with people pretty much instantaneously, as opposed to people that you didn't actually gel with right off the bat?
Yeah, so when I first started commenting, I mean, at first I didn't start commenting. I was really reluctant to comment. And I'm not entirely sure why. Probably just nerves, the fact that they, don't know me, that they might not comment back, that they might read the comment wrong and take offense somehow. Um, but I started commenting with not my booktube channel, with just my regular Gmail account.
Mhm.
And I sometimes got responses, sometimes I didn't. I left a really long message once on a very popular booktube channel, and they never responded at all, and that was a bit disheartening. But then I started emailing people, and I started getting some really nice responses and really encouraging responses, and those people actually helped me decide to start my channel.
That's wonderful. Yeah, that's always a big motivator. The comments and the conversations that start out. I just hit my elbow on my desk. Ouch. That really hurt. Yeah, anything goes. That's not getting edited, everybody. This is all free for all. But anyway, um, yeah, when you engage in those great conversations, that's definitely an uplifting moment. I mean, I remember when I first started leaving comments for people, and when I actually started getting that feedback, that was great. I mean, YouTube was definitely, I think it was the platform back in the day. It was much easier to commute with people, not commute, communicate with people. Wow, it's not that early in the morning, and I'm having issues with my words these days. Weird. Must be that live Q&A from last night. I must be having a hangover from that or something. I'm not sure. But anyway, yeah, there used to be like a messaging service via YouTube. You can communicate with people on messaging. There were ways that you could actually record a video and post it in the comments section on YouTube.
Really? That was
Yeah, it was a very interesting thing. Like, I still remember when I started, I always said put a video response in the box below, because that was definitely a stronger way to engage with people. But
yeah.
yeah, when I actually connected with people right off the bat, because I would comment on future videos, they would comment on my videos, it really started to become great conversations. And then when people actually were starting to reach out even further, that was when I started, very hesitant, of course, but you know, actually friending a YouTuber on Facebook for the first time, or actually doing a live stream with a different YouTuber at the first time. Like, it's nerve-wracking, but it's like, you remember all those great conversations and all those great comments that you had, and everything just flowed so naturally the minute you get those jitters out after the first 5 minutes, and then it just gets so much more awesome.
Yeah. And so in terms of comments, I mean, that was just kind of the beginning. And when I started my own channel, I kind of, and I still try to make it a point to comment on everyone's comments, even if it's just like a smiley face or a heart or something like that. So they know I've read their comment and registered it. And then the next step sort of for me was the app Voxer, which, do you use that? I don't know.
I do not. I know what it is, but I never really see. With me, I'm just, I don't want to overwhelm myself with so many apps and so many social media services. It's like, I know that you love Instagram as so many other people do, but it took me about 12 years to actually give in and get a Twitter account. So I don't really want to go any further than I already am, because I'm just going to get totally lost in all this stuff, you know?
Yes, no, I understand that thought process, and I get lost with Twitter. I have a lot of trouble responding to Twitter things, and I like Instagram for things bookish and otherwise. But specifically Voxer, I liked because I could start having sort of more private, more personal relationships with people and more detailed conversations about reading the same books together. It's a really great app for buddy reads and things of that nature. And I still have a lot of conversations with people almost weekly at this point on Voxer. It's something that occupies a lot of my time, but in a good way.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, look, whatever ways that we can do to be more social, because there's always so many things in the news about how people are not being social enough, and how social media is becoming more antisocial now, which is very, very strange to me. I mean, but there are so many other elements involved that are causing all of these barriers to be put up, but that's not the topic of conversation for this show. Not at all. That could be something for a future topic, but yeah, I mean, people who really want to show others that there are friendly voices out there will go the extra mile. And I always say that when you take a look at all of your subscribers and you take a look at the people that comment the most, it's really about the quality over the quantity. I mean, as someone who is now talking to someone who is also part of the YouTube 1K club, you know,
recently.
you have so many subscribers, but I'm pretty certain that you don't talk to at least 85% of those people.
That's true. Yeah, and I don't think 85% of them even watch every video. I mean, you can see the view counts and everything, and plenty of people watch them. I mean, trust me, when I started out, I thought maybe like 2 people would be interested in what I have to say. And so, you know, more than 2 people are watching, and that is surprising and exciting in and of itself.
Yeah, and you can tell that the people that actually do leave the comments and the people that really want to give you some thought-provoking topics to discuss, because those are the people I feel that, you know, it's great to always say, love the video, enjoy the books, or glad you like the movie, but when someone really like leaves a really thoughtful comment with things that make you think, that's really those people that I feel really want to have a deeper connection with the people that are making these videos. And I also believe that, you know, 1,000 subscribers or more is a great amount of subscribers, but we are still smaller YouTubers in a community where people have over millions of subscribers. So I still feel that even though 1,000 or more is great, you still have that sense of still being one of the smaller YouTubers, so you have more time to engage with your watchers. Because I feel that when you engage with more people, I feel that that's really what makes the whole YouTube experience all the more enjoyable.
Absolutely. And something I do worry about as the channel gets bigger is, will there ever be a point where I can't respond to everyone's comments? Because if so, that makes me really sad. And also, I notice as my channel gets bigger, I'm exposed to more and more people who make their own content, and I have less and less time to actually watch everything that the people I subscribe to create. And, that makes me sad too. I mean, currently I have way too many videos in my watch later playlist, and I feel like I'm very behind in listening to what others have to say. And it's, just a matter of managing my time in the sense of, I want to read, of course, because that's what drew me to the community in general, and that's what I love doing. But I also want to interact with everyone and hear what everyone else has to say while creating my own content. And so it's, a matter of balancing all that, which gets harder and harder as the channel gets bigger.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. I mean, I think what's actually kind of funny is the fact that I think your boyfriend actually watches more of my videos quicker than you do. I mean, I'm not offended in the slightest, And the reason why is because you're not just a fellow booktuber. You're actually a good friend of mine. So if you don't watch my videos, I don't mind. I mean, my parents and my siblings don't even watch my videos, so it doesn't really matter to me. But this, I think, is a good segue into the next question. So I want you to be extremely honest with me when I ask this question.
Okay.
How did you feel when we both discovered that we were practically going to be neighbors when you moved back to New York from college, from getting your degree, and we actually were thinking about possibly meeting up just to get to know each other better? What were your overall feelings when these conversations first started to happen?
Excited and nervous and anxious. I mean, I grew up in the area, around this area, but I feel like a lot of my friends have moved away. And, back when I was younger, it was nice to have people who live so close by. You can just, take a 10-15 minute drive and go spend time with them. And I was worried that I wouldn't have that anymore. And so I was excited for that potential opportunity to exist. But yeah, I mean, meeting someone for the first time in general gives me jitters. So
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I remember when I actually I'm starting to remember some of the conversations that we first started having, because like when you specifically mentioned that you were coming back to the area, and at that time, Jen and I were still very much new to the area that we all live in at this point in time.
right.
And it was also very hard for us as well because we had a lot of friends that had moved away. I mean, like two of my best friends just picked up and moved to Colorado. And while I still had friends that were in the New York area, it was just so hard for us to actually get to them because they were still within the metro area, but on opposite ends. So many bridges to cross, so much traffic to deal with. It was difficult because our lives were just so busy. But when you started mentioning specific landmarks that you and your boyfriend were starting to check out, and I was like, I know that place. I was like, Jen and I want to go check that out too, blah, blah, blah. I said, you know something? I think we need to make some new friends here. And that was when I said to myself, I'm going to just take a chance and I'm going to ask Marissa, would you like to just get together and just meet up? And, I didn't say this directly to me. I was like, hopefully our personalities would click and we actually would be able to build a friendship, because I did want to start making some friends in the area. I just thought that it would be great for the two of us, meaning
Yeah.
my wife and I.
Yeah. And it's also exciting to have couple friends. Most of my friends, I'll see them, and most of my boyfriend's friends, he'll go see them separately. And occasionally they overlap. But I feel like it's really rare that we actually are both friends with both people in a couple. And I feel like that's kind of what ended up happening
Yeah.
with you and Jen, which is really nice for us.
Yeah, I mean, it first started out just you and me. We met at a local shopping plaza. I still remember we got frozen yogurt. I do remember that. That was awesome. It's kind of sad that the first time that you and I got together just to see if our personalities would click, and then about a week later, all four of us got together. We went to dinner. Both of those two places where we went have closed.
I know.
We have a curse. We close down businesses. It's not healthy.
Yeah.
Oh God, that was so weird. And it's kind of funny because it's actually been a little over a year, because we actually all got together for dinner for the first time around my birthday. So it's kind of funny how it's pretty much been an exact year since we have all actually met together, which was great. I mean, when I met Andy for the first time, that was just like, you said to me that we were gonna get along just fine. You couldn't have been more right. And
Tell.
it's also great that we actually work very close by, so we actually get together for lunch during the work hours. I love that.
I joke
But,
you more than I see you now.
well, it's not. Well, believe me, you both are very important to Jen and I. You both really are, and we really want to see you guys more often. But it's just like we said earlier, it's just like lives are lives. Even though we live so close to each other, we do have other obligations that we have to deal with. And what makes truly great friends, and this is something that I have learned over the past couple of years when it comes to bridges that I've built and bridges that I've burned, people who understand that there are other obligations for people before friends, that's what I feel truly makes a great friend.
Yeah. But I think also people who prioritize friendship as well. I mean, you say that we don't get together very often, but believe it or not, we get together much more often than I do with my other friends. So,
Yeah, I mean, look, the same thing can be said about Jen and her friend, and that's just because of the fact that her friends don't live in this area. They actually live in a different state.
yeah.
So that's another reason why I was so glad that everything worked out, because I do want Jen to have some more friends in the area, because all of her great friends are where she went to school, and that's a couple of states away. And I'm glad that some of the people that I've been friends with for a while, that, you know, they're married, and she's connected with my friends' spouses, and there definitely are friendships there too. But one of the few things that I am very happy about is not only did me and Andy get along very well, you and Jen have also very similar personalities as well. So you guys are you guys clicked perfectly as well, which made me very happy. And it's just great to actually have good friends in the neighborhood. That's what it is. I mean, I also do feel that based on the last year, just because of the steps that Jen and I are taking now for in our lives, it's just been just taking over. And I feel that when that storm finally calms down, we will be able to see you guys more often. I think that that's the case. Not that we didn't see you guys more often last year. We saw you guys a great deal these past couple of months, but
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I mean, I'm going through a bit of a transition myself, work-wise and everything, getting that together. So,
yeah, very happy to hear that as well. I really am. Um, so the next question that I want to ask is, based on our first get together,
mhm.
what were some of the things that you took away from our first get together, and pretty much everything else that happened after that?
Well, I was excited to meet Jen actually because you talked a lot about her, and I'm sure I talked a lot about my boyfriend as well. So I was really excited to meet her because she sounded really nice, and I was really happy that we had gotten together and that I met you and that you turned out to be really nice, and you were exactly like you are on the video on YouTube. So that was interesting to see because it was literally like you popped out of the computer screen in real life. Um, but yeah, and I just thought that you would get along so well with Andy, and I was right, evidently. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one of the few things that I'm not surprised that you said that, and that's just because of the fact that when I make my YouTube videos, I don't want to be perceived as a fake personality. Like, I want to be as real as I possibly can, because one of the things that truly makes a great YouTuber is the true personality that you bring, because the more open and honest you are, the more relatable you are in the community, the more comfortable people are. I mean, as someone who likes to help other people in the community, people don't really hesitate much when they actually DM me on Twitter or send me a message in the comments, because they find me to be very approachable, because they're basically saying, if he really is this type of person that he is in his videos, I'm sure he is absolutely fantastic. And yes, when we met, I was so happy that we had an excellent conversation. I also appreciated the fact that I was able to truly be comfortable and myself around you. I mean, it was a little bit weird about the fact that one of the first things that I told you about when we actually first met was the fact that I had just had surgery for the first time.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I didn't think you knew this, but I almost was nervous about possibly having to have a second one.
Oh no, I didn't realize.
Yeah, I told Andy the other day. I actually went back to the specialist because I had a lot of pain again, but the
Oh,
doctor said that there's nothing wrong, so I was very happy about that.
good.
That
Nothing
we're
wrong.
good.
Okay.
But yeah, but the fact that I was able to actually say these types, share these types of things with someone who I had never met in real life yet, just shows me that there was a small amount of trust there, because that's one of the few things that I also feel that makes great friendships. There has to be a very good level of trust. And based on your personality and your videos, you seem to be very easy to talk to, very warm, very friendly. And when I met you guys together, when we all went out to dinner, I think it was the t-shirt that your boyfriend was wearing that immediately sold me. I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to get it. And I just couldn't get over how warm he was. Like, you know, when I meet somebody for the first time, it always starts with a handshake, but he gives hugs. I like that. It's just very nice. It's just a person that actually is that outgoing. That's a great quality to have, especially when you're meeting people for the first time.
Yeah.
So, and we
I'm much more reserved than he is. I absolutely love him. And he doesn't appear on my channel, which is sad. I've talked to him about it, but he's like, no, it's your thing. So maybe one day I'll convince him, but until then.
I mean, Jen's never going to show up on my channel, but you guys have heard the reasoning as to why, and quite frankly, it's something that I respect about her, because I totally understand that she's cautious. I mean, look, anybody who does anything on social media has to be cautious, because you never know who's watching. I mean, the fact that these days people are actually losing their jobs because of what they say on social media, personally, I think that that's wrong. I don't think that that should be a make or break. But, you know, the problem is, because social media is still very much a new tool in terms of professionalism and work ethic and even personalities. It's just like I still feel that it's a work in progress as to how yourself in the real world and your social media self will go hand in hand. And I just feel that overall it's still a learning process. But one of the things that I will say is that I don't think you guys know this, but every single time Jen and I hang out with you guys, I get very, very upset when we have to part ways, because I'm always having a great time with you guys. Always.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, it's just like I always say to myself, like, I wish we had more time. You know, that's just the way I feel these days. And I was really glad that after dinner, we all just went for a nice walk, just to walk off our meal. That was something I was so happy about, because I just said, yes, I do want to spend more time with them tonight. I don't care if it's close to 10 o'clock at night. I have nothing to do tomorrow. I can sleep. You know, it's like, when I'm with people that I really like and enjoy spending my time with, I don't want those moments to end, because they're very special. Because, you know, as someone who has been in this world for so many years and knows that there are still so many things coming in a very, very positive way down the horizon, you know, I want to take these times to really cherish these moments with great people.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go on to the next question, especially considering the fact actually now would be a good time to take a tiny break just to pause for station identification. Just a reminder for everybody, I do this all the time. Everybody, I know it's a very small crowd, but I'm not surprised. It's a holiday weekend. People are still sleeping. People don't really have the need to get up early, but just so everybody knows, it's great to see everybody who is here. And as always, just know that after we go off the air, this video will get taken down, because I do like to add a nice little intro and an outro. And I will post it back up tomorrow morning, which will be Monday, the 3rd of September at 7 a.m. So if you missed it today, do not worry. This will be back up, and you will get to see it whenever the heck you want. So let's get into, even though we are still 2 minutes to 10:30, let's just get into the questions with the last half hour. So we've got 3 questions left, and the first question that I want to ask you is, one of the few things that was a really great landmark in our friendship was the fact that you, me, and Jen all went to BookCon together.
Yeah.
And that was your first time, and that was my second time, and Jen's second time going. So I personally feel that going with a whole group of people is so much more fun than just going by yourself. I mean, yes, I went with Jen, but this time I actually got to go into town with you, a fellow booktuber, and get ready to engage with a whole bunch of other of our peers. So how did you feel about going to BookCon for the first time, and what did you think of your very first experience there?
BookCon was so exciting, and I'm really glad I went. And I'm really glad I went with people who have been before and kind of knew the ropes and everything. I think if I went by myself, it wouldn't have been quite as fun. Um, yeah, in terms of what it was like and what I expected it to be like, I was going to do a whole video on it actually, but funny story, you were vlogging, so I vlogged too, but it turns out my vlog was not a vlog. It was actually a bunch of strange pictures of me smiling at the camera, like mid-sentence. So that did not work out, and I ended up not really posting a video about it, but I had a lot of fun. I got a lot of free stuff. I got to see a lot of bookish things, bookish gifts, and just really exciting things. I got to meet a few people. I got to meet some people who I had met before. I got to meet some new people as well who I've watched their channels before or who I've heard you talk about. And it was just really exciting to sort of bring all these different people together and just to see everyone so excited about books. A lot of the books there are books that I may not be quite as interested in. I feel like the BookCon community kind of was focused a lot more on YA and middle grade stuff. So a lot of the things I got were YA and middle grade. But, you know, it's always nice to branch out and to learn new things about different genres that I might not personally read a ton in. And yeah, I just had so much fun. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised because the first time that you go, it's not about, vlogging your experience. I mean, I feel that when I and Jen went for the first time last year, for me, it wasn't about vlogging anything. For me, it was really about just soaking in the experience, seeing what BookCon is all about, how everything is put on display, where everybody goes, how everything is done. It was great to actually meet up with a whole bunch of different people in the booktube community, because one of the few things that I did do when I actually met up with people was I asked them questions. Like I was like saying, how do you do this? How do you do that? So for me, the first time around is really about learning. You got to figure out how everything is done, and everybody that you encounter and start conversations with, that's just the icing on the cake for the first time around, you know?
Yes. And I
Mm-hmm.
think having done it once, if I were to go back, and I think I will next year, depending on when it's being held, of course, and what's going on in my life at that point. But I would love to go back and do a lot more panels because I only saw one panel, I think, and I found that that was a lot more interesting than looking at the different books, especially because the books were not necessarily the genres that I was interested in, or were also, I mean, I wasn't necessarily interested in buying too many books or acquiring too many books because I have limited space in my shelves right now. But I think I got a lot more out of the panel, and I would like to go to, a lot more panels and just kind of have my day be mostly that.
Yeah, that's one of the few things that I like about conventions as a whole. There's a little something for everybody. Everybody goes in there with a different agenda. People want to spend the whole day in the dealer's room and just buy new things, get new promotions. People go there for the sake of getting books signed. People go to the panels. For me, I wanted to just interact and meet up with friends. I just wanted to meet all these people that watch my videos, I talk to via Twitter. I've done a couple of live shows with. I mean, it was great to meet Beautifully Bookish Bethany. I met up with Nina from Demigods Dauntless again. I saw Taylor from Taylor Talks Books. I saw Sandy from Sandy Reads a Lot. Just seeing all of these people, some of them that I met the year before, and some that I met for the first time this year. It was just great to just plop down in a space and just chat with everybody. And it was not always about books. It was about everything. It was about life. It was about personal stuff. It was about pop culture. It was just great. And I did go to one of the signings because of the fact that I had just finished the Mistborn trilogy. And it was great to know that I got a ticket to meet and get my book sleeve of the trilogy signed by Brandon Sanderson. I thought it was great to actually have a good conversation with him. that was definitely something that I did not anticipate. And that's one of the few things I like about getting autographs from authors. I feel that authors really like to engage with their fans more so than others in popular culture. You know, I just find something more personable and more interactive with authors.
Yeah, it was really exciting to meet authors. I met Naomi Novik and Jacqueline Woodson, and I hadn't actually read any of Naomi Novik's stuff, but I've been really interested in reading it. And actually meeting her made me want to read her works even more. I have them sitting on my shelves, and I keep promising myself I'm going to read them soon. But then I keep going to the library and getting books that are due back, and that's a whole different topic entirely, and it's just what I do to myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was such a nice person, and it was so nice to meet her. And the thing you have to realize with these authors is, you know, they're not super famous the way movie actors or actresses are famous. They don't walk down the street usually and get recognition, but in BookCon, in this setting, they do, and that must be really exciting and different for them.
Yeah, I agree. It's also because of the fact that they are literally lost in the pages of their books that they're reading, and they really just want that breath of fresh air. Because one of the few things I love listening to is when people go to book signings and talk about the authors, and every single time, it doesn't matter who the author is, there's just something very heartwarming about these people. Like, they're so interested in talking to these kids and these young adults and these adults. They're very interested in giving their autographs, very personable. They also love to take pictures. I mean,
Yeah.
my wife took a massive trip up to Connecticut because she had to go to a Sarah J. Maas book signing.
Oh, yeah, she was telling us about that in the car ride.
Loves Sarah J. Maas, loves her books. So the fact that she actually got to meet her and the fact that she actually was able to have a little bit of a conversation with her was very nice, and I really like that. Unfortunately, I don't know if we are going to end up getting to BookCon next year, just because of the fact that unfortunately it always happens on one of the most inconvenient times for Jen, because we know she had to go back to the city the next day. So I kind of felt horrible about the fact that not only did she had to go back into the city, but she came back from BookCon with a sack filled with books. Oh my God, I'm still having phantom memories of that. Oh my God. But in terms of Naomi Novik, by the way, her book Spinning Silver is now all over the booktube community. A lot of people are reading it now. So I'm even at this point in time curious about picking up that book. So who knows what I'll do. But even though I may not end up going to BookCon next year, I'm still actually hearing about people who are going. So I'm like, will you guys at least meet me for coffee outside near the Jacob Javits Center? Like, I'll come into the city and I will meet you guys, even though I won't be in the con. So I'm still going to coordinate, and I'm still going to try and see if I can meet up with some people, even though I cannot go to the con.
That's great. I feel like a lot of the people that I interact with are actually from the UK and other countries, and they usually are not at BookCon. So BookCon was a nice opportunity to meet some more American booktubers.
Yeah, I still think one of the horrible things about going to BookCon is when you actually start seeing people posting tweets or posting videos about BookCon, and you realize that they were there and you didn't know.
Yes, that actually happened to me with a few.
Yeah, there were like 6 people that were at BookCon that actually are subscribed to my channel and vice versa. And I was like, why didn't you tell me? I would have loved to have at least just said hello to you or just made a little vlog, because the second time around, I can definitely see this. If you're going back to BookCon next year, you're definitely going to be doing your vlogs, because now you're familiar with it. Now you know how things work. And I'll just let you know how things are going. If we get there, we get there. If we don't, we don't. But maybe, because at this point in time, I'm sort of like agreeing with Jen at this point in time. I think we just need a year's break, and then maybe we'll go the year after. We'll see. We will see. But if you do go, I really hope that you enjoy yourself when you do go back, if you go back.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's a very overwhelming place. And so even, you know, the people who are there that you didn't get to see, I mean, you can't see everyone. The show floor is huge. I loved how I kept comparing it to a dental convention because it takes place in the same place. And the dental convention is actually a little bigger and more overwhelming. But I feel like there are less people crammed into a space. And so, yes, anyway, I don't know where I was going with that.
No,
But
that's okay. You know something. Where you're going with that is you're getting people a little bit more of an understanding of who you are. I wouldn't be surprised if you actually get a couple of questions about dentistry next.
yeah. Are there like live questions?
No, there's nothing about there's no. I don't have any questions about dentistry.
Oh,
But I definitely know when people do, in fact, share their professions on their YouTube channels, people actually do get very curious. You do get a question or two about your profession if you do mention it on your channel.
so sometimes.
I mean, I think that that's a great thing, though. I think it's really nice that people want to learn a little bit more about what you do for a living.
Oh yeah,
I
absolutely.
I mean, I think one of the funniest things is like when I tell people about what I do for a living, they think it might be one of the most boring jobs in the world. I mean, one of the questions that people actually ask me is, "You're such a charismatic, outgoing, fun person. Like, how do you have a job that is just so mundane and so uninteresting?" I say to them, "Because I like to organize things."
Yeah. And this is your outlet to be charismatic and interact with everyone.
Yeah, but either way, even though I am, I mean, this platform is still very much treated like a professional project for me. I've really taken more of a professional sense for it. I mean, I have a lot more fun and a lot more natural attitude towards it, but it's still something that I take very seriously. But anyway, the sixth question that I have for you is, looking back on the past year as friends, what was one of the highlights of the adventures that we have shared?
There have been a lot. One that comes to mind right now is going to your place and raiding your bookshelves with Jen. I really like that. It's something I do when I go to anyone's house for the first time. I always look, and I've done this since I was young. It's not just books. I look at people's like shelves and ask questions about things. I guess I'm nosy. I don't know. But I love when we get to talk about books based on what's on people's shelves. It's always really fun and exciting for me.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, I honestly told Andy when you two were checking out all the bookshelves, I literally said to him, I don't want to let them be. Let them be. I don't care how long it takes. It's just like I was so happy to see the two of you just like having a great time just talking about books. And believe me, hopefully in the near future there will be a great deal more of shelves for you to explore because we have so many books that we still have to get out of storage.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I heard you have a lot of books in storage. And I mean,
Well, yeah.
DVDs and the Funko Pops and all that is fun too. But obviously, I kind of gravitated towards the books just a bit.
That's fine. But one of the few things that I do say, and this is from someone who has been watching a lot of documentaries lately about people who collect things,
Mhm.
it's a very healthy thing to do because, from a sociology standpoint, they say that people who collect things, regardless of what they are, anything that they collect, even if it's a basic thing like stamps or pens,
Mhm.
it's an extension of somebody's unique personality in a larger, more tangible form. And they say that that's an extremely healthy quality to have in someone's personality because it shows that even if you are a very introverted person, you still, through your collecting and the things that you showcase to others, that is where your outgoingness and your personality does shine. It may not come directly from you, but something like a collectible is another outlet for someone to actually share their personality. And that's a great thing.
Sure. I always joke that my two vices are books and tea because those are the two things that I end up acquiring way too many of and that take up the most space in my apartment and my life. And books, I read an article recently that said it's actually very healthy psychologically to have a lot of unread books around because they represent all these different possibilities, and it actually makes you a more inquisitive and interesting person to have lots of unread books around. And I personally liked that article because I have way too many unread books. Actually, the majority of the books I own are unread, and I'm trying to cut down on that as well. But it's nice to have all those opportunities and just know that you can look around at all your shelves and dive into any different world at any given time and experience something new.
You are now officially going to be one of the more popular people in the booktube community because you have just made so many booktubers feel so much more positive about their TBR shelves now.
Yeah, I mean, people talk about TBRs all the time, and I don't remember where I saw that article, but I really liked it. It made me feel more comforted about my book buying habits and
That's great.
habits.
That is great. So I will definitely say that the highlight of our friendship this past year is that ongoing joke that is still being talked about today. And that was when Jen and I came to you and Andy made that pasta sauce, and Jen basically burned her throat out.
Yes. So my boyfriend, for those of you who, well, nobody knows this, my boyfriend makes the most amazing pasta sauce from
I liked it. I liked it, regardless of the spice.
Terribly that night. He made it terribly that night. I hated it too. It was too spicy for me as well. But he was getting over a cold, and his taste buds were just like completely off. I think that was the worst. Like, we really talked up this pasta and made it sound amazing, and he made it, I think, the worst he's ever made it. But yes, usually he makes it so amazing, and I feel like we need to remedy that at some point. And like, I'll do a taste test first and then invite you over or something.
Well, here's the thing. Let me just do this right now. Not this week, but I'm gonna definitely discuss with Jen in the calendar, probably on the weekend of the 16th or the 23rd, or maybe even the 30th, regardless of what's going on. If we do, in fact, have a free night on one of those weekends, maybe we can give this a second try, because we've been waiting a little while.
Yes, and I hope he does do a better job this time. I think he will. I think it would be hard for him to relapse. I've been really good at limiting his spice on the pasta sauce. He likes things way spicier than I do.
Well, I definitely know for a solid fact that we do have to return the favor. We actually have to invite you both back to our place at some point, and regardless of whether it's me or whether it's Jen, one of us has to cook something for all of us. I mean, I know that when we got together last a couple of days ago, I actually gave you guys a couple of things that I make, and I know that you guys got very, very excited about that. So that is definitely something that we do have to return the favor on.
Absolutely, we'd love that.
Yeah, I think it would be great. But the only thing that I personally feel is that, as much as it would be great, just like where we're currently living right now, like I just, at this point in time, I'm starting to really feel like the walls are really closing in right now. It's a great place that we're living in right now, but it's still, to me, it's just like, I just need a bigger space. Just a bigger space. So that is hopefully going to be happening very, very soon. So we will find that out. So before we get into the last question, I have a little bit of a burning question, and that is based on what we just discussed. Any regrets?
About our friendship, or
about anything that we haven't done yet, or things that we still feel that we need to take care of going on the horizon?
I don't know. I don't think any regrets. I think we'll probably come up with plenty more fun things to do, but just seeing you guys is always fun. So, I mean, it doesn't really matter what we do.
I agree. I totally agree with you. I really feel at this point in time, that's another thing that makes a really strong friendship. It's not about the places that you go to with people. It's the people that you're with. It doesn't matter where you are. You're just going to have too much fun. I mean, I know that we talked to you guys about that comedy club in that shopping mall that I am now officially feeling that is the perfect place that I refer to as heaven now. So
and we'd love to go there too.
Yeah, we are definitely going to do some more research on that comedy club night, and hopefully the four of us will all be able to go there and just have a good time, because like, we've gone to movies a couple of times. We've definitely done our share of a lot of fun things, but there's definitely some more things that I know that we could definitely do in the future as a group, and that would be just awesome. Absolutely awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so let's get into the last 10 minutes of the show, and let's go to the final question. And this is a very interesting one. It's definitely something that a lot of people are going to think about, I think, when the show is long since over and people will come back and visit it. The internet as a whole is definitely a place that is, at least for me, something that I never would have imagined it would be. When I first discovered the internet in the early 90s, People were saying to me, don't be yourself, hide your true self because you don't know who's on the other line. You don't know who is watching. You don't know who's listening. The internet, when it first happened, was a very scary place. Yet when you fast forward so many years later, and you actually see newer YouTubers starting to make channels, and you see this a lot more in the booktube community than anywhere. People are saying that the reason why they're creating their channels is the fact that they're trying to find friends. They're trying to build friendships with people that they feel that they have more in common with. And these are people that are not just engaging with people via YouTube, they're actually going out of their way to meet people in person. How do you feel about the fact that these barriers have come down after being introduced to a place that was supposed to be one of the most dangerous ways to communicate with others?
Yeah, so I actually don't think that the barriers have completely come down. I think that when people meet up, it's still something that people are wary about. I think that, a lot of times when people meet up, I mean, I know when I met with you for the first time, my boyfriend was like, have your cell phone on, text me if there's any problems. I mean, you're going to a public place, so that's better. Things like that. And I actually, this past summer, really did want to meet up with a booktuber, and I actually had planned an entire trip. And then when I shared this with my family and with my boyfriend, they weren't so okay with that trip to meet up with somebody who I've never met in real life before. And part of that was because I was going to be staying with them and had never met them before. But yeah, I think it is something that people are still wary about, maybe less so than you, I don't know. But in general, getting together in a public place, there are still ways to do it where you can meet up with people.
No, I'm not. I definitely agree with you. I mean, I'm always hesitating when a booktuber or another YouTuber actually wants to meet, but that's one of the few things that I know about myself is that if I'm going to meet somebody that I never met for the first time, I want to make sure that I meet them in a place where there's people. That's just the way I am. But you also have to remember that I went into the whole online dating circuit long before it became the whole swipe left, swipe right generation, Like, I met my wife through the internet on a dating service. And I have no shame in saying that. And that's just because of how it's hard to be so social. But at the same time, I was never the kind of guy that wanted to pick up a woman at a bar. That just wasn't me.
Sure.
So even when I was going to go out on a date with someone that I never met before, I mean, one of the few things that I appreciated about the dating service was the fact that you got to see the picture, you got to see the profile, you got to actually talk to the person, whether it was on a messaging service, whether it was on the phone, it doesn't matter. You were still getting an understanding of the person that you were going to eventually meet face to face. And the same could be said about YouTube. You engage with these people. I mean, like, you and I talked for at least a month and a half before I found out that we were practically going to be neighbors. And one of the few things, yeah, so like when I actually met you, I felt like I knew you much more than a complete stranger. I mean, when I actually hear that there are YouTubers that are actually going to be in New York City, I always tell them I work near Times Square. Can I just say hello to you? So the fact that people actually put me into their vacation itineraries is fantastic. I mean, like, I met Roya Eve Reed. She's from New Zealand. She and her partner met me for breakfast, which was right around the corner from my office.
That's
And I had been talking with this girl for about 2 years, so I felt like I already knew her, and we had a great conversation. I met my friend Closey Cat. She's a fellow pop collector. I met her in Times Square, and we went to Midtown Comics where she could get Funko Pops, and we had a great time.
Good Town Comics is great.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to say that there are some people who I talk with, every week or every few days, via social media platforms, who live in other countries, who I've never met before, who I do consider some of my closest friends. But at the same time, yeah, I would love to meet with them in real life. It just doesn't always happen. And when people live a little further away, I think it's harder to just meet up for the kind of meeting you want when you're meeting someone for the first time, even though you've known them for a long time, which is, kind of like a shorter meeting in a public space. But if, you're taking a trip hours away to do that, it's not necessarily always easy. And so, yeah, I would love if if people who I'm friends with are coming to New York, I tell them, all the time, like, if you're ever in the area, please let me know and I'll make time to come see you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even when I go on vacation, people have actually gone out of their ways to meet me in their neck of the woods. Like when we went down to DC, I met my friend Stacy Wilson at one of the museums in the National Mall, and we had lunch with all three of us, and we had a great time. When Jen and I went down to Disney World, we met up with Jackie from Books, Board Games, and Ball Gowns. She worked in Disney World in the Magic Kingdom, so she met us right before she went on her shift. So the fact that even people are going out of their way to meet us when we're actually in their neck of the woods is even more special and more fun. And of course, everything gets documented on my Twitter feed. Every person that I meet up with, like I met Christina from Christina's Journey. She lives in Latin America. She came to the city to go see a whole bunch of Broadway shows, and we went to lunch at Bravo's.
Wow. Yeah,
and she loved it. She loved it.
To California to meet one of my best friends from high school. But while I was there, we actually got together with a friend from BookTube who actually no longer makes videos anymore, but I still stay in touch with her, and she comes to New York pretty often now, and we get together. So it's nice to have friends that you see less often maybe, but the friendships are still there and still strong.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel that, I didn't even notice. Cammie's here. That is great. No, Cammie, we actually started at 10. We're actually wrapping up, but this will be back. Don't worry about that. But yeah, I totally agree with you. And one of the few things that I do know is that when you really get to meet these friends of yours more often, then that's where it will be a little bit more like, I have a feeling that one day, I don't know when it will happen, but I'm pretty certain that I will have become such good friends with a booktuber or a YouTuber or whatever, or a film fanatic, whatever, that at one point in time, if they need a place to stay, they'll end up crashing at my place one time. I have a feeling that one day I am going to go to BookCon and I am going to be hosting like 3 people and we're all going to go in together. I just have a feeling that one day that's going to happen. I don't know when, I don't know if it will, but I just have a strange feeling that it will happen at some point in time.
Yeah, and I have all these destinations now on my list of places I want to go, so I can see, some people that I've become friends with. I mean, the UK, Australia, Finland. I'd love to visit all of them. Spain even.
Well, I know for a solid fact, I don't even know when my next traveling adventure is going to be, but if I ever actually decide to take a trip down to New Zealand, because I know I have some fellow booktubers in New Zealand, the best part is I get free room and board because I actually have family there.
Oh, that's perfect. See, I don't have family.
That's something that really surprises people when I tell them that I actually have relatives in New Zealand and I actually have met them, which is even better.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, anyway, we are officially about to wrap things up. Yes. And I am so happy that this ended up being as fun and as insightful as it was. Marissa, even though I see you on a constant basis, actually finally getting an opportunity to do a YouTube collab with you was definitely something that should have happened a long time sooner.
Definitely. And I had so much fun chatting today.
But I feel that this being the first thing, I think this is what made it all the more fun and special. I'm so glad that we did this because this was a fantastic conversation, especially because of the fact that this is not stuff that we usually talk about together as friends.
That's true. We don't usually talk about this at all.
Yeah, so I think it was really nice to finally do this and share our own YouTube experiences with my watchers. And guys, I really hope that you take some time to check out Marissa's channel. Her channel is Blatantly Bookish. And like I said, this video will go down in a couple of minutes, maybe even an hour, and then I'm going to put it back up tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But when it does go back up, you will see all of her information. You'll get everything from her Twitter to her Goodreads account to her YouTube channel, everywhere that you want to find her in the social media community, in the BookTube community, everything that I know she shares on her YouTube channel will be there, nothing else. But she is definitely one of the better YouTubers that I watch, and she is an amazing friend, and I'm so glad that she joined me today. So thank you all for watching, everybody. Once again, I am Steve, your friendly neighborhood lawn gnome, wishing you all a wonderful day and weekend, and I'm looking forward to the next time that we get together for an episode of Sunday Sit-Downs, where we have another great topic to discuss, but as always, another great YouTuber to discuss it with. Have a wonderful day, everybody, and I'll see you in the next one. Hey, thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. If you're new here and want to see more of what my channel has to offer, please click on the link to my last video, or hit that subscribe button to be kept up to date with all of my uploads. Content of all sorts is posted here quite often, so trust me, you do not want to fall behind. I will see you in the comments, and actions speak louder than words.